LGB. 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 LGB.
They say LGB everywhere. I go LGB. What it means, I don't know. LGB, whatever it is. LGB, come on, help me, please. Please.
Alrighty then.
I like you. LGB.
That's let's go, Brandon, right?
LGB.
This means let's go, Brandon.
No. LGB.
Sounds like let's go, Brandon, I guess.
LGB. All right. Let's go, Brandon.
I am Cornholio.
Chant LGB. Right wing and left wing. LGB. Go, you know the thing. LGB. If you don't sing that back. LGB. And you ain't black. LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB.
Let's go, Brandon.
LGB. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
I'm Joe Biden, and I forgot this message.
Greetings, my dear friends. Welcome to a live episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas. This January 27th, 2024 at 3:02 p.m. Central Standard Time. I've got an Angelpaste announcement for you. I'm really excited about it because I've been waiting for it for a while. My very favorite kind of Angelpaste is now available in very limited quantities. So I really wanted to bring it to you, my very favorite humans in the entire world, you who watch Reading Epic Threads. So I'll get to that in just a second. In general, I'm really excited about it because we're about to, we're going to be expressing it to the wider Badlands community as well. But I want it to be right here first, just to give you guys the first crack at these awesome gift boxes. But I'm also really thankful to Ash in America, my co-host on The Brief. She asked me if she could write some copy for the Angelpaste ad. So without further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and just read Ash's copy for this, and let me know what you think in the chat, of course. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Of course, do me a big favor and smash that thumbs up button. I know there's only 73 of you watching right now. That number does tend to climb as the show goes on. But we're going to be doing some Erik Carlson, some Brian Cates, and who knows what else. But this is a live show, very informal, and I'm going to be hopefully using the audio from the Brian Cates piece as my also the audio that I do for the Brian Cates Substack. So is there going to, my love, is there going to be crackling in this particular episode? Should I stick to stuff that we're not making audio files for?
Like the next 5 minutes.
Oh, then that doesn't count. Okay, no big deal. So we'll probably just go ahead and talk about the Angelpaste awesomeness. I'm going to read this copy right now. Angelpaste is the best lotion the world has ever known. And Patrick and Barbara elevated all of our Angelpaste experience with their limited time release of Vanilla Angelpaste late last year. Vanilla went fast, and it won't be returning until January 2025. If you missed out on Vanilla, don't miss out on Rose. Now, just in time for Valentine, we are excited to release Rose Angelpaste, and it won't last long. Invented by my sister Barbara, manufactured at her home in Spring, Texas, Angelpaste consists of only pure food-grade plant oils extracted from those plants using only cold, non-chemical processes. Rose essential oil has natural pain-relieving properties, combats anxiety and stress, and even contains antibacterial and antifungal properties. Antimicrobial properties would be a better way of putting it. And now you can add those benefits to the miracle powers of Angelpaste. Rose, I project, will sell out faster than Vanilla did. So that's why I'm offering it here first, just to Very, very tiny crowd, very quietly, very hush-hush. So get your Rose Angel Paste now. Well, actually, in about 10 minutes, because I've scheduled the thing to make it available at angelpaste.com at 3:15 Central Standard Time. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands, and you're going to be able to tell. It's very subtle, the way that this is labeled. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on camera, but it says on there, Rose Essential. Come on, do it. Come on, camera. There it is. Rose Essential Oil Infused. Nice. And Ashley's actually going to put for the vanilla, there's a little secret just for you that you'll be getting when you order these in the vanilla gift pack. Not the vanilla gift pack. My God, what's wrong with me? The Valentine's gift pack, which is rose infused. Now, the thing about rose that makes it special to me, in my opinion, especially when you are talking about a purely organic essential oil of rose, very expensive to make. The scent, to me, is the most intoxicating scent that I can imagine or experience. So when Barbara used to make Rose Angel Paste all the time years ago, because everything was scented and she scented every single bottle because we were operating at such smaller volume, I was just always excited when she made fresh rose. Guys, this is not going to last. There's just nothing like a Rose Angel Paste, guys. It's the greatest thing ever. So go to angelpaste.com in about 8 minutes. Oh, one of these bottles is mine. You know, my personal rose bottle. It's mine. You can't have it. There we go. All right. So thank you everybody for being here. You're my very favorites. So I really hope that you will, for one, smash that thumbs up button. Thank you very much. And let's go ahead and get started on our show. We're going to start with Erik Carlson, whom I have taken since I got sick and since I went to GART and all that, and I didn't do as many shows. I've really, really been backed up. And one of the guys that one of my favorites, I've been backed up on. He's got 3 pieces that I need to cover sometime this week. Erik Carlson. This one is from ericc.substack.com. It is entitled Prometheus. What was Ridley Scott telling us? By Erik Carlson. Recently, I wrote a piece on pop star Robbie Williams and his stance against child trafficking. I watched the 4-episode documentary on Netflix about Williams not only because I like his music, but more importantly, Ridley Scott's production company produced the documentary. When Ridley Scott talks, I listen. Where We Go One, We Go All was from the Ridley Scott movie White Squall. And the Scott Free Production Company was mentioned in the Q posts as well. Scott Free Production is a film and television production company founded by brothers Ridley and Tony Scott, both directors of many big Hollywood movies. Tony Scott jumped from a bridge to his death in 2012. Tony Scott jumped to his death 2.5 months after his brother's movie Prometheus was released in June of 2012. I remember watching Prometheus within a year of the movie coming out and had a hard time staying awake. Likely because I was the parent of 2 small children at the time. I chose to watch it again the other day when I realized Ridley Scott directed it, and no, I don't believe Tony Scott killed himself. Many years ago, as a boy too young to watch rated R movies, I watched the 1979 sci-fi horror classic Alien, directed by Ridley Scott. I had no idea who Ridley Scott was at the time. I had no idea to look for symbolism in Scott's movies. I've seen many of his movies and didn't realize to do this until more recently. I remember when I woke up 6 or 7 years ago and learning Stanley Kubrick put a lot of symbolism in his movies. I rewatched many of his movies. I'll have to write about him at some future time, but just understand that the cabal orgy scene in Eyes Wide Shut that he refused to cut out of the movie got him killed. I've rewatched Alien a few times since my original viewing without understanding or looking for symbolism in it. I'm talking about it now. I'm rehashing the movie in my mind, having not seen it in years, but now thinking about possible symbolism in it. The plot of Alien is a group of space-traveling miners stumble onto wreckage on a planet called LV-426. Planet LV-426. What does the Bible verse Leviticus 4:26 say? He shall burn all the fat on the altar as he burned the fat of the fellowship offering. In this way, the priest will make atonement for the leader's sin, and he will be forgiven. A burnt offering for the atonement of sins. The key here, I believe, is sin. A fat offering is also mentioned in the Greek mythological story of Prometheus. Back to the plot. While exploring the wreckage on the planet LV-426, an alien creature attaches itself to a crew member's head. Later, it detaches itself, and the man seems to be no worse for the wear. Unknown to everyone on the mining ship, the alien creature has basically injected a parasitical creature into his throat, which gestates in his stomach. With a very short gestation period, a creature famously bursts from the man's chest while the crew is eating a meal together. The creature escapes and grows, killing each crew member one by one. Unknown to the other crew members aboard the spacecraft, one of the crew is actually an android. During the stalking of the crew, the android tries to protect the alien creature. Eventually, the last crew member alive jettisons the murderous alien creature into space. So, where's the symbolism? In the book of Genesis, we learn sin entered a perfect world by Adam and Eve ingesting the forbidden fruit. Once Adam and Eve sinned against God by eating from the tree God forbade them to eat from, sin entered the world, and death and destruction soon followed. Ingesting the alien that grew in the space crew member's body represents eating the apple. The creature bursting from his chest and killing all but one represents the fall of man, the death and destruction that comes from sin, the death and destruction of all but one. Who do we know didn't fall prey to sin and ultimately conquered death? Sometimes there are multiple meanings to symbolism, and I believe the plot of Alien also points to the Cabal. The Cabal are parasites who bring misery and death to the world. They feed off of people, literally and figuratively. The parasite grew within the crew member's body before later feeding off the other crew members. In the Ridley Scott movie Gladiator, there is the famous line the protagonist character says to the Cabal Emperor after killing a fellow gladiator in the Colosseum, "Are you not entertained?" The people are controlled through bread and circuses, and their lives mean nothing to the elites. We are but entertainment to them. The Cabal elite are parasites living off of us. Before moving on to Prometheus, let me highlight 3 movies brother Tony Scott directed. 1983's The Hunger, a movie about vampires and seeking eternal life. Nothing says Cabal like vampires. They feed off of humans and live forever. While the Cabal don't actually live forever, they see themselves as beyond human, immortal. 1998's Enemy of the State is about the deep state, a group of elites who run the world through covert agencies. And finally, 2004's Man on Fire, starring Denzel Washington, whom I think is one of the good people in Hollywood. Man on Fire is about a wide-reaching child trafficking ring. Consider some of Ridley Scott's movies and series. Napoleon, Exodus, Gods and Kings. The Vatican, Black Hawk Down, Gladiator, White Squall, Blade Runner, Hannibal, American Gangster, Body of Lies, Killing Lincoln, Before I Go to Sleep, Child 44, Man in the High Castle, and he even directed the 1984 Big Brother Apple computer commercial. He seems to focus a lot on highlighting corruption and control by the elites, secret societies, and transhumanism. He made a movie about a serial child killer, a woman who is under mind control. He even made a movie about an elite psychiatrist who literally eats people. In The White Squall, he explains how we are to overcome it all by setting aside our differences and coming together. Prometheus is a character from Greek mythology. Below is a fairly short video explaining the story of the Greek character. All right, let me go ahead and get that fired up for y'all.
Before the creation of humanity, the Greek gods won a great battle against a race of giants called the Titans. Most Titans were destroyed or driven to the eternal hell of Tartarus. But the Titan Prometheus, whose name means foresight, persuaded his brother Epimetheus to fight with him on the side of the gods. As thanks, Zeus entrusted the brothers with the task of creating all living things. Epimetheus was to distribute the gifts of the gods among the creatures. To some he gave flight, to others the ability to move through water or race through grass. He gave the beasts glittering scales, soft fur, and sharp claws. Meanwhile, Prometheus shaped the first humans out of mud. He formed them in the image of the gods, but Zeus decreed they were to remain mortal and worship the inhabitants of Mount Olympus from below. Zeus deemed humans subservient creatures, vulnerable to the elements and dependent on the gods for protection. However, Prometheus envisioned his crude creations with a greater purpose. So when Zeus asked him to decide how sacrifices would be made, the wily Prometheus planned a trick that would give humans some advantage. He killed a bull and divided it into 2 parts to present to Zeus. On one side, he concealed the succulent flesh and skin under the unappealing belly of the animal. On the other, he hid the bones under a thick layer of fat. When Zeus chose the seemingly best portion for himself, he was outraged at Prometheus's deception. Fuming, Zeus forbade the use of fire on Earth, whether to cook meat or for any other purpose. But Prometheus refused to see his creations denied this resource. And so he scaled Mount Olympus to steal fire from the workshop of Hephaestus and Athena. He hid the flames in a hollow fennel stalk and brought it safely down to the people. This gave them the power to harness nature for their own benefit and ultimately dominate the natural order. With fire, humans could care for themselves with food and warmth, but they could also forge weapons and wage war. Prometheus's flames acted as a catalyst for the rapid progression of civilization. When Zeus looked down at this scene, he realized what had happened. Prometheus had once again wounded his pride and subverted his authority. Furious, Zeus imposed a brutal punishment. Prometheus was to be chained to a cliff for eternity. Each day, he would be visited by a vulture who would tear out his liver, and each night his liver would grow back to be attacked again in the morning. Although Prometheus remained in perpetual agony, he never expressed regret at his act of rebellion. His resilience in the face of oppression made him a beloved figure in mythology. He was also celebrated for his mischievous and inquisitive spirit, and for the knowledge, progress, and power he brought to human hands. He's also a recurring figure in art and literature. In Percy Bysshe Shelley's lyrical drama Prometheus Unbound, the author imagines Prometheus as a romantic hero who escapes and continues to spread empathy and knowledge. Of his protagonist, Shelley wrote, "Prometheus is the type of the highest perfection of moral and intellectual nature. impelled by the purest and the truest motives to the best and noblest ends. His wife Mary envisaged Prometheus as a more cautionary figure, and subtitled her novel Frankenstein, The Modern Prometheus. This suggests the damage of corrupting the natural order and remains relevant to the ethical questions surrounding science and technology today. As hero, rebel, or trickster, Prometheus remains a symbol of our capacity to capture the powers of nature. And ultimately, he reminds us of the potential of individual acts to ignite the world. TED-Ed is a nonprofit. If you value our work, please consider supporting it on patreon.com/TED-Ed.
The 2012 Ridley Scott movie entitled Prometheus is a prequel to the Alien franchise. There was a 2017 prequel to Prometheus called Prometheus 2: Alien Covenant, which I haven't actually seen. 2012, Prometheus, the plot. In 2089, archaeologists discover a star map in Scotland that matches others from several unconnected ancient cultures. They interpret this as an invitation from humanity's forerunners, the engineers, the group they believe created the human race. The elderly CEO of Wayland Corporation funds an expedition aboard the scientific vessel Prometheus to follow the map to the distant moon, LV-223. The ship's crew of 17 travels in suspended animation while an android monitors their voyage. They arrive in December 2093 on Christmas Day to look for the human-like creatures they believed created mankind. The Prometheus spacecraft lands on the barren, mountainous surface near a large artificial structure, which the team explores. Inside, they find stone cylinders, a monolithic statue of a humanoid head, and the decapitated corpse of a giant, human-like alien thought to be an engineer. A crew member recovers its head. The crew finds other bodies, leading them to surmise that the species is extinct. The expedition is cut short when a storm forces the crew to return to the ship. The android secretly takes a cylinder with him, while the remaining ones begin leaking a dark liquid. In the ship's lab, the engineer's DNA is found to match that of humans. The android investigates the cylinder and the liquid inside. He intentionally taints a drink with the liquid and gives it to an unsuspecting crew member who had stated he would do anything for answers. The captain of Prometheus speculates that the structure was an engineer military base that lost control of a virulent biological weapon, the dark liquid. Through exposure to the dark liquid and ingestion of snake-like creatures that mutated from worms, some crew members mutated into creatures with superhuman strength and attacked the other crew members, killing several before being killed themselves. With a crew now half of what it once was, Wayland and team members return to the alien structure that also houses a spacecraft and discover an engineer who appears to still be alive in a hypersleep chamber. The android wakes the engineer from stasis and speaks to him in an alien language. The engineer, a large human-like alien, kills a couple of Prometheus's crew before reactivating its spacecraft. Believing the surviving engineer is going to take the bioweapons to Earth to destroy mankind, the remaining crew members back on the spacecraft called Prometheus sacrifice themselves by ramming the Prometheus into the alien craft as it starts to take off. After the destruction of the alien spacecraft and Prometheus, the lone surviving crew member of the Prometheus, with the help of the android, finds and launches another engineer spacecraft, intending to reach the engineer's homeworld in an attempt to understand why they wanted to destroy humanity. The symbolism in the movie is everywhere. The planet visited is LV-223. Leviticus 22:3, say to them, for the generations to come, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean and yet comes near the sacred offerings that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, then that person must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. Reference to the sinful generation that came from an originally sinless world and the need to separate them from God. It appears the engineers want to travel to Earth to destroy humanity because they became sinful. The lead protagonist in Prometheus wears a cross necklace, which the android takes from her, fearing it might be contaminated. When all hell breaks loose, she insists that the cross necklace is returned to her. While other crew members are satisfied they have discovered who created man, she asks the question, well, who made them? In the alien structure, there were many dead, large, human-like aliens stacked in a huge pile. Having carbon dated one of them, the crew discovers the aliens died about 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago. This is around the same time Christ was crucified, was resurrected, and conquered death. While the movie Alien seemed to symbolize sin entering a perfect world, Prometheus seemed to symbolize the battle that took place in heaven. Revelation 12, verses 7 through 10. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. But he was not strong enough, and they lost their place in heaven. The great dragon was hurled down, that ancient serpent called the devil or Satan, who leads the whole world astray. He was hurled to the earth, and his angels with him. In the mythical story of Prometheus, we learn Prometheus formed man from mud, obviously stealing it directly from Genesis, where God creates man from dust. Prometheus rebels from the Greek gods by giving fire to the humans, or rather technology, and he is banished to eternal damnation. It sounds a lot like Satan being thrown out of heaven for rebelling against God, to eventually suffer eternally in the lake of fire. In the movie Alien, an android tries to protect the creature that represents death. In Prometheus, an android tries to protect the black liquid bioweapon that mutates the aliens and humans into monsters. Technology and science are used to protect the death and destruction causing sin. This reminds me of how science and technology have been used to turn man from God. Science is used to explain away the mysteries of God. Science and technology have become a god to man. I remember hearing a few years ago that Elon Musk said people in Silicon Valley are trying to create AI, artificial intelligence, for them to worship as a god. The large, human-like aliens in Prometheus make me think of the Nephilim in the Bible. The Nephilim are mysterious beings or people in the Hebrew Bible who are described as being large and strong. The Hebrew word Nephilim is sometimes translated as giants and sometimes taken to mean the fallen ones. Their origins are disputed. Some, including the author of the Book of Enoch, view them as offspring of fallen angels and humans. Others view them as offspring of the descendants of Seth and Cain. Scriptural references. The Nephilim are mentioned just before the flood account in Genesis 6:4, which states, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went into the daughters of humans, who bore children to them. These were the heroes that were of old, warriors of renown." They are mentioned again in Numbers chapter 13, verses 32 and 33, as the Israelites prepared to enter the land of Canaan. So they brought to the Israelites an unfavorable report of the land that they had spied out, saying, "The land that we have gone through as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great size. There we saw the Nephilim. The Anakites come from the Nephilim, and to ourselves we seemed like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. The Cabal believe they come from a lineage of godlike beings. They are like gods, currently living on earth. They are set apart. Make what you will of the Nephilim, but it does mention them in the Bible. One last piece of symbolism. The captain of the Prometheus ship and remaining crew intentionally crashed the spacecraft into the aliens' spaceship to keep it from going to Earth to destroy humankind. In other words, they sacrificed themselves to save humanity. Obvious symbolism of Christ dying for the sins of man. I'll stop here. I look forward to watching and rewatching movies going forward with an understanding that some of the makers of these movies are trying to speak to us through symbolism. Hollywood doesn't allow them to communicate directly with us, so they have to be discreet and secretive. Symbolism goes both ways. In this case, the symbolism is designed to draw attention to the divinity of God and the evil of those who are jealous of his power. And that wonderful, brilliant piece is by my friend Erik Carlson. Go to ericc.substack.com, ericc.substack.com. What just really great work there. Just top notch. Sorry it took me so long to get to it, dude. All right, guys, it is official. If you go to the Angelpaste website, go there right now. Go to angelpaste.com, click on shop, and then boom, there it is. Rose Angelpaste Miracle Cream Valentine gift set. And the text here, written by Barbara, when Angelpaste Miracle Cream is enriched with organic rose essential oil, it becomes a supercharged way to promote a clear and luminous complexion due to its anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Contrary to popular belief, it isn't good to dry out oily skin with harsh chemicals because it signals the skin to overproduce sebum, causing more acne. Rose essential oil can help balance oil production, making it the perfect acne-fighting ingredient, while Angelpaste Miracle Cream gives the skin that radiant, light-reflecting glow. Rose essential oil has also been shown to be anti-aging, wound healing, and mood enhancing, which makes it a perfect gift for your loved one. Get your gift set of 2 bottles, 8 ounces of Angelpaste Miracle Cream Rose, and 8 ounces of the original unscented in a gorgeous white box, elegantly wrapped in red tissue paper and a red satin ribbon. Supplies are limited. All right, and that's where you place the quantity for your order. When I say supplies are limited, I really freaking mean it. I'm not going to tell you how many. I hate the fact that the workflow involves individually shaking each bottle for obvious reasons. But this is such a wonderful Valentine's gift. These are mock rose petals that go in it, rose-colored tissue paper, red ribbon, and then the bottles are snugly packed in here. The rose, unscented. I mean, guys, this is just a great Valentine's gift. Go to angelpaste.com, use promo code Shapiro. Supplies are very limited, and I'm offering it here on Reading Epic Threads. It is now available. But you Reading Epic Threads people deserve first crack at this. They are going to vanish pretty darn quickly. Now, you can also, I'm not going to, there are other ways to get rose angel paste. You can buy your own essential oil, but just buying this rose essential oil, I will say this, buying this rose essential oil on its own is very expensive. Just a teeny tiny bottle is like, I don't know the exact numbers, but making your own rose angel paste when it runs out would be much pricier. It'll cost you a couple $100. You could still do it. But this, $130 for a 2-pack, guys, it's going to be great. They're going to be gone real fast. All right. Let us move on to my friend Brian Cates. Counterinsurgent grapefruit at his last bottle. Grapefruit essential oil is much less expensive. It's the most, grapefruit essential oil is the most cost-effective essential oil. All right. Let us go to our friend Brian Cates. I'm so excited about the rose. Having the scent of rose in my lotion just changes my outlook on life. All right, next. Give it a rest, conservative Inc. You're being tuned out because even now you refuse to admit that last presidential election was stolen from Trump. By Brian Cates. When news reached President Donald J. Trump that the Republican National Committee, RNC, was preparing to end this completely foregone primary season now that all the other candidates have dropped out besides the delusional Nikki Haley, and vote to simply declare Trump the party's presidential nominee, he immediately issued this response on his Truth Social account. Donald Trump on Truth Social: while I greatly appreciate the RNC wanting to make me their presumptive nominee, and while they have far more votes than necessary to do it, I feel, for the sake of party unity, that they should not go forward with this plan, but that I should do it the old-fashioned way and finish the process off at the ballot box. Thank you to the RNC for the respect and devotion you have shown me. Trump 2024. That is a very interesting response, is it not? The RNC was preparing to vote to simply hand Trump the nomination, but he came out quickly and said he doesn't want them to do that. Thus far, only Iowa and New Hampshire have held their votes, and Trump says he wants the voters in the other 48 states and territories that have not held their primaries or caucuses yet to know that their vote still counts. So, in a boss move, he turned down this offer of the nomination on a silver platter, and this now creates problems for the people who were hoping he would eagerly grab that silver platter with both hands. Many of these people are still hoping to argue that Trump's massive popularity is only an illusion, it's not real, and is a Trump campaign team creation. Had Trump opted to take the nomination now, before more states have voted, these people would be able to continue using that talking point to claim making Trump the nominee is a big mistake because his widespread popular support is only a carefully crafted image. What else might Trump be doing? What issues might he be forcing by refusing to have the presidential nomination simply handed to him? Well, for one thing, we are realizing we do not currently have an accurate picture of the GOP electorate right now. 2 states into the primary season, because the present Republican system for holding primaries and caucuses in many states are unsecure and compromised, especially in the blue or purple states. Is Trump trying to call attention to this fact? While Iowa wasn't likely skewed all that much by Democrat operatives changing their party status with the help of dark money NGOs like Primary Pivot to cross over and vote for Nikki Haley, about 70% of the 140,000 plus votes Haley got in New Hampshire were from people who were not members of the Republican Party, and that's a massive problem. 70% of 140,000 votes is 98,000. What should have been a 20-point, massive Trump blowout win was reduced to an 11-point win, 54.3% to 43.2%. It appears that allowing non-Republican voters to swarm into the GOP primary to vote cut Trump's victory margin by as much as 8 to 9 points. Wouldn't the best way to get an accurate read on who the GOP party base in each state wants to nominate for a public office be to allow only party members to vote? Sure. It's a simple concept to state. So why have so many state GOP leadership set up their primary caucus rules to allow non-party members to directly influence the outcome? Why do they allow undeclared people to vote? And pollsters like Rich Barris, People's Pundit on X, of Big Data Poll, are hearing that the Haley camp thinks Democrat rent a mob for a day voters can help her flip some close races in some of the blue states that will be holding their primaries on Super Tuesday, which is a big reason she's planning to stay in the race to at least March 5th, after she suffers what is shaping up to be an epic ass-kicking in her own home state of South Carolina. Rich Barris on Twitter. Democratic assistance has convinced a lot of them around her that she can win blue states on Super Tuesday with Democratic votes, even if she loses South Carolina. Byron York knew Nikki Haley's unfixable problem, Washington Examiner. It is indeed an exceptionally bad look for the current RNC party leadership that the sole remaining candidate's campaign team appears to be openly courting Democrat NGOs like Primary Pivot to encourage hordes of Democrat crossover voters to come vote in the GOP race in their state to help them stop Trump. Intentionally or not, Haley and her campaign team and the donors behind her have cast a massive spotlight on a major problem with how the current GOP primary/caucus system is set up. Why are large numbers of people who aren't even Republican Party registered being allowed to drop in for one single day and vote to influence GOP elections? How long has this been going on? And it should be pointed out that this primary season voting isn't about just determining who gets the party's presidential nomination. There are plenty of down-ballot races that matter also at the state and local county level. What sense does it make to leave the door wide open to allow Democrat NGOs like Primary Pivot to directly influence voting that should be about the Republican base alone, expressing its preferences for those local and state offices? Of course, it's far too late to change the existing rules now that the primary season is already getting underway. The end result of this is going to be uniparty dark money NGOs that helped set up the 2020 election rigging and theft, continuing to pour millions of dollars into ginning up stealth Democrat rent a mob for a day voters in the GOP primaries to try to blunt, obscure, and hide the true size of Trump's base, while also directly impacting many of the smaller state and local elections. Some people are concerned about Trump having to continue rallies and do campaign spending on what are essentially primaries, where the outcome is a foregone conclusion. No matter how much the uniparty NGOs spend, Trump is very likely to win every single GOP primary. Perhaps that's the point. Perhaps Trump wants it demonstrated at the ballot box just how large his base of support actually is. For months now, there have been people like Clay Travis and Steve Deace and several other big influential talking heads in conservative ink who've been insisting to anyone who still listens to them that Trump actually does not have the widespread popular support that he appears to have. They've argued this is an illusion and that Trump blew the 2020 election and lost it by campaigning wrong. See, Trump lost that college-educated suburban woman vote in 2020, and that's why Joe Biden beat him fair and square. So to win in 2024, what Trump needs to do, hold it. Let me stop you right there. Clay Travis on Twitter.
The data is clear. Donald Trump lost in 2020 because college-educated suburban women abandoned him outside Atlanta, Milwaukee, Philly, Phoenix, and Detroit. So how can he win these women back?
When Clay Travis and Steve Deace and several others simultaneously began advancing this argument about how Trump lost the 2020 election, I made this response. Trump bettered his 2016 vote total by almost 8.25 million votes. He did not lose the 2020 election, and it is infuriating to see top influencers spouting this crap, especially in light of all the election fraud evidence that has surfaced over the past 3 years. Every conservative ink talking head who at this late date is still saying to us, see, Trump lost in 2020 because ends up being immediately suspect as to both their motives and their intentions. Because by refusing to acknowledge the biggest truth about the 2020 election, they are red flagging their analysis. They can't reach people like me, who covered the massive and blatant theft of the 2020 election as it was occurring, and who reported on the aftermath of that election theft. I got tossed off of Twitter for 2.5 years for covering that election theft. So did Tracy Beans of Uncover DC and many others who, instead of protecting their access to social media by carefully watching what they said, they followed the truth and reported the facts about that stolen election and happily paid the price for it. While the Steve Deace's, Clay Travis's, Dana Lash's, and Ben Shapiro's stayed perfectly safe and uncensored because they immediately rushed to adopt the uniparty GOP establishment tune from the very beginning and stuck with it. Trump lost. Get over it. Move on. So, every time one of these Con Inc. people starts saying stuff like, well, Trump ran a losing campaign back in 2020 and he lost fair and square to Biden. So according to this 2020 election data right here, what he needs to do now is to explain to us what he needs to do to win in 2024, or to pontificate to us about how he'll lose this upcoming election. Right there is where they lose us. Because they can't admit the obvious. And if they can't admit the obvious, are they really good sources for news analysis? I would say no. Why should anybody keep listening to the analysis of people who either can't accurately see the last presidential election, or even worse, they do see it, but they refuse to acknowledge it, as they babble their cool, hot take prescriptions for what Trump needs to do to win this next one? They have no credibility. If the most obvious fact about the 2020 election escaped you, or you are still refusing to talk about it at this late date, your analysis is freaking worthless. And that is my very good friend, Brian Cates, busting out the very, very super duper obvious stuff. Guys, Angelpaste, get it in time for Valentine's Day, guys. Rose scented and one unscented for the love in your life. It is absolutely amazing. Use promo code Shapiro to pry $1 from my grasping hands. And you get two of these gift boxes. Bam, free shipping hits. Yeah, basically, if you go over the threshold of 3 bottles, and this would make it 4 bottles, bam, you get free shipping. Angelpaste.com, rose-infused lotion in a Valentine's Day gift box. Your skin will drink it up, and you will. It's the best smell that in the whole wide world. I always regret it when we run out of rose. All right, so don't forget tonight, I will be on the Devolution Power Hour. I will also be doing Reading Epic Lit, the second part of Chapter 2 of the Fourth Turning. I've been having to keep my reading kind of short because, I've been sick and, I start coughing. As you could see, I did the same thing while I was doing the Brian Cates piece. But anyway, thank you to Erik Carlson. We'll be covering much more of him in the days to come. Thank you to Brian Cates as well. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.